Ben Shapiro, or as I lovingly refer to him, Squeaky Ben Shapiro, he went after Bernie Sanders in what is quite possibly one of the most hyperbolic and stupid ways possible. Take a look.
The idea is, on behalf of folks on the left, that government is capable of achieving these outcomes. Government is not capable of achieving equality of outcome. It's just not. LBJ tried this in the mid-'60s. He ended up with the greatest growth of government in the history of the United States, and he didn't end up lowering poverty in the United States. The percentage of people living below the poverty line right now is effectively the same as it was since the beginning of the 70s. So the notion that Bernie Sanders is going to come along with government and that he's going to fix all problems, basically his plan goes like this. Declare that socialism is insert thing you want, question mark, utopia. That's Bernie Sanders' program. And here's the thing. Once he has to fill in those gaps, as it turns out, to achieve equality of outcome, what you usually have to do is kill a few people. I mean, this is what communism does. It says in order to achieve equality of outcome, we're going to have to seize the property of a few people. If they don't like it, then we're going to have to imprison them. We're going to have to restrict them from moving. We're going to have to crack down on individual rights. We're going to have to redistribute everything. Eventually, what we're really going to need to do is just collectivize the ownership, make it government-owned so we can redistribute the proceeds. We're going to need to do that at the very least. Okay, that ends up pretty ugly. And this is why when Elizabeth Warren tried to fill in the gaps on Bernie Sanders, on even basic things that he's proposing, like Medicare for all, she got destroyed. Because Bernie will say Medicare for all, and people will say, so what's your plan for this, and what does it look like? And Bernie will just say things like, well, it will cost you less. Well, no, it won't. But he doesn't ever actually roll out his plan. Right? He'll just promise you the moon, and then when you say, okay, how are you going to get to the moon? And he just refuses to answer the question, then this is a sign of genius.
I don't even know where to begin with this because that was just like a tsunami of BS. Okay, so to the final, let's start at the end and then work backwards. He says, well, Bernie says Medicare for all will cost less. Well, no, it won't. Except it will, and that's not me speaking. That's the Political and Economic Research Institute at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, which did a detailed study on this, and they found, to give the exact number, over a 10-year period, Medicare for All will save $5.1 trillion. You want to know why? You get rid of the unnecessary, rapacious, for-profit middleman. You get rid of it. You get rid of the mafia that's shaking you down. So again, if Ben Shapiro wants to disagree with that, fine. Go ahead and disagree with that. You're wrong. You're wrong. But go ahead and disagree with it. But just know you're not disagreeing with Kyle Kulinski. You're not disagreeing with Bernie Sanders. You're disagreeing with a detailed study from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Now, I'm sure he still will disagree with that. But okay, let's be clear about who exactly you're disagreeing with. Because I'm talking studies and facts and numbers. And he's talking, right-wing cliches and platitudes and things that they believe based on no evidence at all. So let's just be on the record about all that. Okay, that's the first thing. He also said, well, Warren got destroyed when she was trying to fill in the details on Medicare for All. No, Warren got destroyed when she backed off of Medicare for All. And then the real nail in her coffin was accusing the most progressive senator of our lifetimes of being a sexist. So that's when Warren got destroyed, when she started backing off these left-wing proposals. So he's just flat out misstating what the empirical reality is. To fit his ideology. He's working backwards from his conclusion. And then at one point he says, well, at some point, Bernie Sanders is going to say, we have to collectivize the ownership and give it to the government. Except that's a total misstatement of what Bernie's policies are and what his beliefs are. And Bernie's not hiding it. He's laid it all out there. You don't need to let me, Ben Shapiro, fill in the gaps for you. There's no gaps. He's open about all of it. So one of his proposals involves something called worker-owned co-ops. Now, worker-owned co-ops are not, let's collectivize the ownership and give it to the government, give it to the state. No. Worker-owned co-ops are democratize the workplace. So let's say you work at a company with 100 people, mid-sized company. Well, instead of having one owner, one CEO, one boss, a rigid hierarchy, Bernie wants to incentivize, not mandate, but incentivize democracy in the workplace. So now 100 people are all the boss. You are your own boss. And then whenever you make a decision, all of you get together and you vote on it. That's all he's talking about. Now, again, Ben, do you want to disagree with that philosophy? I'm sure you do. Please, by all means, go right ahead and do it. But be honest about what he believes. He's not talking about some sort of statist version of leftism. He's not talking about let's collectivize it and then give it over to the state, which I'm sure Ben is trying to straw man as like the DMV running like every industry or some shit. Like, stop straw manning your opponents. I know you don't like Bernie Sanders. I know you don't agree with Bernie Sanders, but let's be accurate about what he actually believes. And then if you want to disagree with him, by all means, you could disagree with him. But I get the sense that you can't accurately talk about his beliefs because you don't know what they are. But also, you don't have substantive rebuttals to that. You don't know about the different strands, different flavors, different varieties of leftism. You don't understand that there's massive distinctions and nuanced differences between the different schools of thought. And everything hinges on those differences. It's the difference between having an authoritarian-like system and a libertarian-like system. One that embraces freedom and liberty and one that doesn't embrace freedom and liberty. Market socialism versus non-market, statist versions of socialism. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's like the rights intellectual, but he's not an intellectual. He's just wrong about the stuff he's saying. And you know he conflates it all because what did he say? Oh, usually in order to get what Bernie's talking about, you have to kill a few people. So look at the jump. Look at the jump. We're talking about banal social democracy. That's what Bernie believes in. Banal social democracy, carrying on the legacy of FDR. Ben Shapiro makes the jump to, it's communism, and you have to kill a few people to get there. He never said that. You said that. Bernie Sanders is one of the people running for office who wants to end the wars, and he believes in freedom of speech. He argued for Ann Coulter to be able to speak at a college when there were riots against her. He believes in free speech. He wants to end the wars. His proposals would save lives, and you're strawmanning him as, well, you got to kill a few people to get what he wants. No, Ben, you have to kill a few people to get what you want. You are one of the biggest cheerleaders of the Iraq War. So you have blood on your hands. He doesn't have blood on his hands. He was against it every step of the way. So spare me your hyperbolic, over-the-top nonsense about, oh, you're going to have to kill a few people to get what he wants. No, apparently you and your neoconservative ideology, you have to kill people to get what you want. God, he's such a slimy weasel, and he says things that are so silly. He also strawmans Bernie and says, well, Bernie says he'll fix all problems with government. No, he doesn't. He never said all problems get fixed with government. This is your strawman of him, and I'm stunned that, like, there's anybody who can't see through this. Anybody who's being remotely honest about this and takes off the partisan blinders is going to go, oh, yeah, Bernie didn't say that. And then finally, he keeps bringing up equality of outcome. Well, government can't achieve equality of outcome. That's great. Nobody is arguing for equality of outcome. Nobody. I've been in left circles my whole adult life. I've never heard anybody argue for equality of outcome. Again, this is the right-wing straw man of what the left believes. Like, oh, people on the left just want a janitor who works part-time to make the exact same amount of money as the CEO. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. And then finally, he talks about how, well, government is ill-equipped to deal with these massive problems. And, when they did the war on poverty, well, you had the same, effectively the same poverty rate before and after, so you know it didn't work, except that's not true. The war on poverty cut the poverty rate from about 26% to 16%. Now, you could say, hey, there's still it's still a high poverty rate, true, but it's incorrect to say that there was no impact of anti-poverty programs. Anti-poverty programs redistribute, so by definition, they're helping to fix the problem. No further analysis needed. If somebody's poor and you walk up to them and let's just use the Andrew Yang example because everybody gets it when you talk about it like that. Let's say we had a universal basic income, Social Security for all, and you give a poor person $1,000 extra a month. Guess what? They are by definition less poor. So when you say, oh, there was no effect on it with the anti-poverty programs, that is not true, and that's comically incorrect. He always works backwards from his conclusion. Whatever he believes, he'll square peg, round hole it all day. He'll never just be, yeah, you know what? I concede on that. He never does that. He never does that. I am more than willing to concede when somebody I disagree with makes a decent point. I have no problem doing that. My ego has no stake in this. My position is not, everything that's on the left is by definition correct every time, no matter what, and I will always defend that no matter what. I don't think like that, because I'm not a child. But him, he does it with everything on the right is correct no matter what, and every talking point ever on the right is accurate. Dude, final thing, to further prove he's incorrect, oh my God, the government's ill-equipped to deal with this stuff. Social Security. Did you know, prior to Social Security, about 50% of seniors in this country were living in poverty? You want to know what that number is now? Actually, I say now, but the statistics that I got on this were, they had the year 2000, but it's about the same today. Prior to Social Security, half of seniors living in poverty. Now it's about 10%. Went from 50%, half in poverty, to 10% in poverty. Government programs work. Now, does that mean all government programs work and they're all equally amazing? No. Because again, I'm not like Ben Shapiro. We're not like Ben Shapiro. I don't make my mind up about something and then defend it no matter what the evidence says. No. If you show me evidence of certain government programs or certain regulations not working, great. Let's have that conversation. Show me the evidence. Let's take a look at it. You could very well be right. It's certainly possible. But what Ben Shapiro does is the exact opposite. And you just saw it. Everything's a broad, sweeping, generalized statement. Everything's a straw man of, what Bernie Sanders believes and what leftists believe. And listen, all I can say is this. If you're somebody who has been a fan of Ben Shapiro in the past, or you are right now, you can grow. You can evolve. You don't have to be perpetually wrong. He might make you feel good because he's so confident when he talks, or whatever the hell it is, or he talks fast, so therefore you think he must be smart. That's a silly analysis. And there is an off-ramp, and I'm offering you that off-ramp so you can get off. You could do it. You can get off. That sounds weirdly sexual. You can get off this road of silliness, which is exactly where his commentary takes you. So I'm just letting everybody know. There's a reason I'm covering this. I'm covering this because, the hyperbolic anti-Bernie coverage is just so ridiculous. And this is coming from, I don't agree with Bernie on everything. I have strong disagreements with him. Maybe we don't talk about them all that much because the issues where I disagree with him don't come up all that much. But when it comes to, legalizing, taxing, and regulating sex work, at the very least decriminalizing all drugs, but really legalize taxing and regulating all drugs. These are areas I disagree with Bernie. I agree with Yang and disagree with Bernie on UBI. Bernie believes in a federal jobs guarantee. Yang believes in UBI. I'm more in the Yang camp on that front. I have disagreements with him, but they don't come up that much because we're still stuck at this bare level analysis where you get clowns and fools trying to disagree with him and straw manning him nonstop. And that's exactly what this clip represents.